Welcome back. Today we have many space-related items. Pretty interesting day. So grab your favorite cuppa, settle in, and let's have a look. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for September 12th. September 12th is the 255th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 256th in leap years, with 110 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is metamorphosis. I spent a good portion of the day today over at the tire shop having tires put on Honda number 2. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But while I was there, I took the opportunity to do the research on today's word. So here we go. I'm going to read it to you right out of my little notebook. Today's word is metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is a noun that has a few iterations of meaning around a change in form. First of all, a change of physical form, structure, or substance, especially by supernatural means, such as a metamorphosis of humans into animals. Metamorphosis can mean a striking alteration in appearance, character, or circumstances, like a company that goes through a metamorphosis. Metamorphosis can also refer to a marked and more or less abrupt developmental change in the form or structure of an animal that occurs subsequent to birth or hatching, like the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly or tadpoles into frogs. There's a good bit of metamorphosis in mythology, such as the one where Daphne was turned into a laurel tree, or that time that Athena, in a fit of jealousy, turned the weaver Arachne into a spider. Natural elements may also undergo metamorphosis, like coal into diamonds, for example. By the way, the plural form of metamorphosis is metamorphoses, like a commercial building that has gone through several metamorphoses. Also, the verb form is metamorphose, like awkward preteens who metamorphose into attractive young adults. The word metamorphosis is composed of word parts meta, indicating change, and morph, which has to do with shape or form. Change, form. Pretty straightforward. Looks like it comes from Latin, Greek before that. First known use of the word metamorphosis is in the 1530s. Metamorphosis. Today's word metamorphosis was suggested by YouTube viewer @RobPricer. Thanks, Rob. And if you have a word you'd like to see in this Word of the Day segment, drop it in the comments and we'll take a look at it. And with that, on September 12, 1959, the Soviets launched the second Soviet cosmic rocket, nicknamed Lunik II or Luna 2. Headed for the moon, this would be the first spacecraft to reach the surface of the moon and the first human-made object to make contact with another celestial body. This was during what's known as the Cold War, a time of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. It was called the Cold War because there was no large-scale fighting between the superpowers, but we were definitely involved in ideological and geopolitical struggles for global influence. The Soviets went into space and got to the moon before we did. So, on September 12, 1962, President John F. Kennedy delivered an iconic and stirring speech that we call the "We Choose to Go to the Moon" speech, galvanizing the nation and setting the stage for one of humanity's greatest achievements.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
We did go on and get into space, first with Project Mercury, the first human spaceflight program of the United States. Project Gemini was next, sending men into low Earth orbit in 1965 and 66. On September 12, 1966, Gemini 11 was launched. Astronauts Charles Conrad Jr. and Richard F. Gordon Jr. were the two-man crew that were on board as Gemini 11 set the current human altitude record, except for the later Apollo moon missions. On September 12, 1991, NASA launched the Space Shuttle Discovery on STS-48 to deploy the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite. The Space Shuttle Discovery, by the way, went on 39 missions over its 27 years in service. The following year, September 12, 1992, we see the 50th Space Shuttle mission with the launch of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Endeavour had been commissioned to replace the Space Shuttle Challenger, which we lost in a horrific event in 1986. Fortunately, Endeavour fared better than Challenger, and on this particular mission, she's crewed with astronauts Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space, Mamoru Mori, the first Japanese citizen to fly in a U.S. spaceship, and Mark Lee and Jan Davis, the first married couple in space. How about that? And on September 12, 1993, the Space Shuttle Discovery was launched. This was Discovery's 17th mission, and it deployed the Advanced Communications Technology Satellite, also known as ACTS, and it also deployed and retrieved a satellite with an IMAX camera. So, some pretty decent images there. Today's song is Across the Universe by the Beatles. Credited to the Lennon-McCartney team, Across the Universe was considered for Yellow Submarine, but shelved at that time and appears instead on their 12th and final album, Let It Be. Described as a cosmic ballad, the lyrics were actually inspired by a situation in which John's first wife, Cynthia, may have been nagging him about something. After she went to sleep, her words kept replaying in his mind, and the opening phrase, "Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup," came to him. He went downstairs to tinker with it a bit and would later say that it turned into a cosmic song rather than an irritated song, that the words of the song were inspired. It was around this time that the Beatles had been introduced to and were interested in transcendental meditation, which further inspired him to add a Sanskrit mantra to the song. Across the Universe has been covered by David Bowie, Fiona Apple, and several others, including a group of assorted artists at the 47th Grammy Awards show in 2005. Across the Universe by the Beatles, link in the description. There's also a time-stamped link to the Grammy Awards version, and they're all very easy to find on YouTube if you want to see some of the other versions. If you watched yesterday's episode, you might have seen the part about me spending a good portion of that day in the tire shop getting new tires for Honda number 1. We also have another Honda that's even older and also needed tires, so I did that today and just got back home a little while ago. I didn't waste that time in the waiting room, though. I opened up the internet on my smartphone, researched, and wrote about today's word of the day. How about that? No reason to ever be bored, really. All that reminded me of the very useful old proverb, actually, that will be our quote today, and that is, waste not, want not. Alrighty, y'all take care. Be good to each other. I'll see you next time. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlists in the description. You can find me on BitChute, Facebook, Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube, and X, as well as on a blog page called No Really. No Really. No Really. Consider following my Day in History page on Facebook if you're on Facebook. I also have a Patreon account now, or you can buy me a coffee. All those links are in the description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.